She was murdered by someone who said he loved her, by a police sergeant sworn to protect her. Her story told to us from the grave. Kathleen Savio, mother of two young boys, was in the prime of her life when one man and one man alone decided that she should die. Before her death, she lived in constant fear, terrorized by the man who literally drilled a hole through the wall of her home to get in. Like so many, she pounded on the doors of justice, cried for help, got a restraining order, did everything she was supposed to. But there was no protection from the man who told her he would kill her and make it look like an accident. She knew the end was coming. She installed deadbolts. She arranged her affairs, even asked her sisters to raise her sons. She knew she couldn't keep him out. Yes, there is no physical evidence, no DNA, no fingerprints, no eyewitness. It would be the perfect crime, except the fourth wife vanishes. But circumstantial evidence is even stronger than eyewitness. Imagine you're on a desert island and you think that there's someone else there because in the full moonlight you see with your very own eyes a campfire and hands over the fire, but you don't approach. The next morning, you see what you thought was a fire. It was a piece of metal that reflected the moonlight. What you thought were hands, nothing more than the branch of a tree. What you think you saw was really nothing more than an illusion. And why is there no evidence? There's no evidence because a fellow police officer, either inept, incompetent, or corrupt, made a decision within minutes to call it an accident and call it a day. He directed that no evidence be collected, and Peterson was given the professional courtesy of being present while his fourth wife tells police he was with her on the night in question. But it was a second autopsy that identified the 13 fresh contusions and abrasions, the deep symmetrical bruising under the collarbone, the severe bruising under the diaphragm, itself consistent with a bear hug. The laceration to the head was only skin deep and would never cause a healthy woman with no drugs, no alcohol, and no disease to lose consciousness and drown. It is not one fact, but many facts taken together as a connected whole which lead us to such convincing proof of guilt that we're unable to escape it. Fact. 2 months before she died, Drew Peterson, wearing his weapon, takes a convict for a ride in his police car, offering $25,000 to kill his third wife. He only wants to know when it's going to happen so he can create an alibi. Fact. 4 months before she dies, Kathleen tells a tenant that her husband, dressed in black SWAT uniform, snuck into her home, held a knife to her throat, told her he could kill her and make it look like an accident. Fact. 3 months before her death, he again sneaks into her home, chokes her, leaving physical marks, and asks why she doesn't just die. He tells her he'll get the kids and all the money. Fact. Within 6 weeks of her death, a lieutenant overhears Peterson saying her lawyers are getting all my money and that his life would be easier if she just died. Fact. Drew's fourth wife tells her preacher that she goes to bed with him the night before Kathleen is found dead, and she wakes up and Drew is gone, not answering his cell. At dawn, she finds him in the laundry room, dressed in black SWAT, washing another woman's clothing. He grills her, telling her that she will provide his alibi. The fourth wife even tells a divorce lawyer that Drew told her he killed Kathleen. And Peterson's pension records are subpoenaed by Kathleen's divorce lawyer days before she died. Now, these people have nothing in common. A reverend, a police lieutenant, a nursing student, a convict, a teacher, a sister. They are not all lying. They don't even know each other. This is not a conspiracy. So what really happened? Peterson picks up his kids for visitation. He knows Kathleen is alone for the weekend. He leaves home in the middle of the night after his fourth wife falls asleep. He enters Kathleen's home using either her son's missing key or the pre-programmed garage door opener that Kathleen wrote about to the state's attorney. Dressed in black, he surprises Kathleen with a choke or a stranglehold, just like he did in the front yard when he arrested her in front of her own kids. He is highly trained in submission holds and the martial arts. Once she's down, he forces her head into the toilet, explaining the deep symmetrical bruising under her collarbone. He then drags her on her left side from the toilet to the tub, explaining the abrasions on the left side of her body. And the one linear abrasion literally mimics the grout on the floor. She's already dead. He throws her in the tub, then hits her on her head and forces her legs down, her feet pressed against the side of the tub. But he forgets to put the towel there. He forgets to replace the bath mat. His hands too big to open the small clasp on the necklace around her neck. He knows from his police training his DNA is on her clothing, so he takes them to launder them. And when he returns the next day with the kids, he calls a locksmith and a neighbor before he enters the house. Now he has his alibi. He doesn't call fellow police officers. Civilians are better in a situation like this. And when a neighbor screams in the dark house where there might be an intruder, he doesn't run with his gun drawn as all police are trained to do. He stays at the front door. And when he does approach her body, he starts cleaning up the blood, allegedly to keep the children from seeing it, but really to explain why his DNA might be present. And after a neighbor asks why there's no towel if she's really taking a bath, one miraculously appears. The evidence is there. It is circumstantial and it is strong. Motive, means, opportunity. Each truth connected leads us to the whole truth. Kathleen Savio has spoken to us from her grave. Her statements repeatedly voiced by the witnesses who swore to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Her voice is everywhere. It is clear, precise, and on target. It's deafening. Can't you hear her? Thanks for joining us. Email us your comments, justice@foxnews.com.